Hi team, so today's call is with the wonderful Indre from PitPat. Indre is one of my dearest friends. We've known each other years when we met back in 2010 or something, working at Naked Wines together. Now she works at PitPat, a activity tracker for dogs. So think Fitbit for your canine friends. Really interesting product, and as you can imagine, a very niche product. So today she shares insights from working brand side, agency side, and exactly what is working for them at the moment, given the rising cost per customers on social media. So I hope you enjoy this one as much as I do. Without further ado, here she is.
Well, let's see if any gold nuggets come out from me.
I know they will. I'll give you the official warm-up. Hi, Indre. Thank you ever so much for joining us today. It's been a long time since we've seen each other.
It has been a long time, thanks to COVID mostly.
Yeah. So you've now moved over to the wonderful PitPat. How did you find yourself there? What was your... Well, firstly, why did you leave Naked? Because I still need to know that answer. And,
Because you joined Hannah, obviously. Only kidding. So how did I find myself at PitPat first, perhaps? So I was previously working with Genie goals, as you have mentioned. I was there for 6 years, 6 wonderful years. And this is where I would say my real kind of digital marketing experience has started. I absolutely loved being in an agency environment. I think for anybody starting out, it's just the best place to be, just because of how much information and training you're exposed to, and so many more great minds in the company that can basically guide you, train you, and show you all the tips and tricks. It is a very intense environment as well. And obviously you don't kind of have a choice of what brands you work with, which is good and bad, I guess, at the same time. So you do get exposure to a lot of different business types and models, which is amazing for your development. But then, I guess I found myself in a place at some point where I thought, I just really want to market a product that is very close to my heart, a product that I really believe in. And that's what led me to kind of exploring the in-house opportunities. And yeah, I found PitPat. I mean, I love dogs. I absolutely love the product. For anybody that doesn't know what PitPat does, our kind of hero product is an activity monitor for dogs. I know I get a lot of surprise looks when I mention this, but it is a real product, believe it or not. And, there are 9 million dogs in the UK alone, and at least half of them are overweight. So it's a really, really handy little tool, I would say, that any dog owner should consider.
It is a really interesting concept and product, and I find it quite entertaining because I use a Fitbit. Well, I use an Apple Watch now, but I used to use a Fitbit, and the idea of putting one on my cat, because I'm a cat owner, heaven forbid, not a dog owner, really amuses me. Really, really amuses me. When you first, so just taking you back a little bit, when you first left Naked Wines to join this digital agency, we were at Naked Wines back in 2013, 2014, like years and years ago now.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we were an e-commerce brand that didn't do digital marketing really, right? They were very good at emails. We did a little bit, but it was like a tiny amount. And the majority of our work was based in partnerships and based on new customer acquisition through direct marketing of some description. And I remember when you left and us all being like, oh, that's a brave step. Oh, digital marketing, risky. And actually, it's the opposite, isn't it? I mean, Naked now does digital marketing. They've developed it a couple of years later, but it was quite a risk when you took the jump into digital marketing. Did you see it as a risk, or did you see it as inevitable?
I actually, at the time, or by that time, I already felt that digital marketing is kind of the way forward for a lot of brands. Perhaps because, I'm a millennial and I kind of, mingle with people of my age, and I just saw this growth in people that, saw people becoming more and more digitally savvy and spending more and more time online. And so I felt that online is probably going to be the next big thing in terms of customer acquisition. It was a little bit accidental. It wasn't exactly my kind of conscious decision that I took, like moving into digital marketing. It was actually my personal circumstances that have led me to kind of relocate and to look for another job. But I'm really, really happy that I ended up where I did, and find myself in digital marketing now. Wouldn't look back.
So you, at the time, it was obviously the next step. What do you think the next thing in digital marketing is going to be now? Because we're seeing a lot of changes. Facebook is going up in cost. People are coming off it because of data and privacy concerns. Where do you think the next kind of area is for marketing?
Yeah, I don't actually think that Facebook and Instagram is going anywhere, or at least not for a good few years. But there are these other platforms that are emerging all the time, TikTok being one of them. But I think it all depends on where your target or who your target audience is. So I don't think even customer acquisition through direct marketing is even dead. So, if you're targeting kind of your 60 plus kind of audience, who perhaps are less digitally savvy still, that channel isn't dead. And then if you are a really young, funky brand, I don't know, be it, for example, some trendy clothing brand, then you probably want to be on TikTok a lot, and you want to target your Gen Zs and even younger audience. So it's hard to say what the next big thing in digital marketing is going to be. I think each of these platforms or channels are going to still have a role that they will play in customer acquisition.
Do you still get Naked Wines vouchers too? Do you still see them? I still get them from time to time. It's
been a while since I've seen one, but I have actually heard people getting them, and I have seen some around, yes. But perhaps, I don't know if, like, as you said, I think they moved on to kind of digital marketing quite a bit now as well. I'm sure the vouchers are still floating around.
Such a good hour.
It was, and I think it worked really, really well for Naked Wines, and I think it still is working well for a lot of businesses, especially if you're a subscription-based business.
I think you're spot on. I think it's for subscription businesses. It works very, very well. So in terms of your marketing strategy at PitPat, you're obviously, it's a very niche product. It's only for dog owners that it's going to appeal, or I imagine you get some gifting market, but it's still quite a niche. You haven't got a range of products. You aren't going to appeal to the majority of people. How many dog owners are there in the UK, before I say the majority of people?
Around 9 million dogs in the UK. And obviously there will be some people that own multiple dogs, but I would say the number is pretty close to that 9 million.
So in terms of your marketing strategy and communication, what have you found really has worked for you?
So in the past 12 months, we have invested a lot of time and effort into really crystallizing who our target audience is. We did that through, investing in qualitative and quantitative research. We've sent out a lot of surveys. We really listened to our customers. We also looked at audience insights on various platforms. And once we kind of were able to identify who that target market is, we have adapted our messaging. We have changed the customer journey. And we believe that it has played a big role in kind of how, in our success as a business and the growth over the past 12 months.
Have you seen changes in conversion then? Has that been the number one? Like, what's been the sign that it's been a success?
We have seen an increase in the number of conversions. It's a little bit hard for us to say that is the one thing that actually has made a difference because of, the whole COVID situation and dog market just exploding. I mean, it's been a really tough year, and it's hard to compare year on year and to say what really has, made that difference. But we believe that has definitely contributed to the growth.
I think it makes a lot of sense. And actually, Emily, our head of strategy at Genie, she always talks about and actually she formed our avatars. So we know exactly who we're going after so that we've got that right customer. And actually, it's a step that when I'm talking to new clients, the moment they say they've got that piece of information, we're like, yes, we can help them. If they haven't got that piece of information, it's so much harder because everything, you're right, the copy, who you're targeting, what platforms you're going on, there's so many factors that will change if you don't know exactly who you're going to. And
absolutely.
I know you listened to Nikolai's podcast because we had a good conversation about it. And it's interesting how he was talking about his first £1 million came from one type of customer, but his second 100 million or his next 99 million needed to come from a different type of customer. And until he'd done that research, he wasn't able to find out. And by the sounds, that's exactly what you're going through right now.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So we've done winning marketing strategy. What was your losing marketing strategy this year?
Oh, good question.
Don't say affiliates.
Actually, oh gosh, I really need to think about this one. Cannot think of one right now.
That's because you've made such a good difference. There's been no negatives, right? You've joined PitPat. It's just gone.
There hasn't actually been a lot of negative.
I can flip the question. Social media marketing. It's a hard one to get an ROI out of for a lot of brands. How do you find it?
Social media marketing is one of our biggest channels actually at the moment and has been for quite a few months. It is becoming increasingly more competitive, perhaps less than Google ads still, but it's definitely up there in terms of competition. And you really need to stand out and really need to grab the attention of people that are, scrolling through their feed. I guess when it comes to social media marketing, one thing that we did, and I hope this perhaps is going to help somebody else that is listening, is instead of focusing on conversions, focusing on micro conversions, because the funnel is much more multi-layered these days than I guess ever before. So it's not as straightforward as I'm sure, Hannah, you will agree, as showing an ad to a cold audience and then just converting. So it's not a top and bottom funnel. There are just so many different stages. And actually a lot of other channels play a part. So in that conversion process. So approach it as part of the mix, rather than an individual channel.
We completely agree. Rachel Milner, our head of paid social, she would agree, because she often talks about the full funnel approach, and actually often paid social funnels into PPC, it funnels into organic, it funnels into a lot of other areas because someone's seen you there. And it takes a process in order to warm someone up on social media. First time they see your ad, you're right, you're not going to go and buy necessarily. It's highly, highly unlikely. You need to introduce them to the brand, kind of explain what your point of difference is, who you are. And I think that's one of the most important things when doing social media ads, is you've got to put your brand on the ad.
Absolutely.
If you have beautiful imagery, consumers only stick around for 3 seconds most of the time, not even 3 seconds. So if you don't have the brand there, you've wasted the ad. They don't know who you are, and they're never going to remember it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's not enough to just show your ads to people once. I think you need to look at things as, like frequency. You need to do your retargeting. And, there are even like multiple layers within the paid social itself, So it's
getting your objectives right, because the objectives you set on that social media campaign, whether it's conversions, whether it's reach, whether it's whatever those are, they have to be right. The amount of accounts we audit and take a look at, and it's every single objective is sales, or every single objective is traffic. And it's like, it's not though, is it? That's not what you're trying to achieve with that. There is one caveat, and that is, if it's working, maybe don't stop. Because we looked at an account the other day, and every objective was set to traffic, but it was converting really well. So we were like, let's just not change it. If it's working,
yeah, exactly.
We can test another one, but let's not change that one because it is converting very, very well.
Absolutely. Once you get something that's working well, just don't mess with it. Just keep it as is.
Absolutely. And just test against it, just to make sure you're right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, for us, I think it also very much depends on the business and the product. So for us, because we're targeting dog owners, it's very, very easy to kind of reach that dog interest audience. It's a very, very clearly defined audience. I think if you're in selling furniture or selling clothing, you kind of probably have slightly less to play with. So you can go for age, you can go for gender, you can go for, the location that people live in, but everything else you have to kind of leave open. Whereas for us, we know that we want to target people that own dogs. So for us, it's kind of no-brainer. It's a really good platform for us to be on and to advertise on.
That's interesting you mentioned, because obviously your experience, you've worked with big lingerie companies, big clothing companies, big homeware companies. Do you therefore find it much easier because you've got such a niche to target them than you perhaps did with the broader businesses?
In some ways, yes, I would definitely say yes. However, it is a crowded market, as you can imagine. I mean, there are so many dog brands, from food to toys to accessories to everything else. So it is quite a crowded space, and you do need to, offer people something exceptional for them to get them interested. And I guess the biggest challenge for us also as a brand is that we are kind of a newish brand, but it's a new product category that we're offering to people. And to educate people about the category and to explain why this device is what they need or want for their dog is kind of an additional work that we have to do. So, yeah.
I can see how that's actually a challenge of being a new category, right? Your job is not only marketing the product, but actually it's educating all dog owners on why they might potentially want it. Surely that hampers your marketing efforts because you've almost got two objectives there.
Absolutely. So for us, just introducing our brand, sometimes you really need to kind of introduce the category as well as brand to convince people to convert, at some point further down the funnel. But yeah, it's definitely, I would say, double the work, double the effort in some way or another.
So how do you educate them? How do you try and get that message across about this new category?
We are trying to explain as clearly as we can on our website. And then depending on where we send traffic from, we always try to make sure that it's, it's relevant. And we also try and solve people's problems. I think that's what a lot of businesses are focusing on, not just us. But for example, for us, what has worked really quite well is, whenever somebody types in Google, is my dog overweight? We know that this is exactly the concern that we're able to help you with. This is exactly the problem that we can solve for you. So it's not just necessarily that people will search for an activity monitor for dog if they're not aware that it even exists. But people have problems that we can solve with our product. So yeah, educating them through that, I guess.
That's like a textbook, the Harmon Brothers in America. All of their adverts are based off solving the problem and actually listing the problem, all the problems that a consumer has right now, and then explaining how this product will solve it. Do you do any YouTube advertising?
We have done in the past, but that was actually before my time. We haven't done any in the past year and a half. It wasn't very successful when PitPat tried it last time for us. It's definitely kind of like a high budget, requiring campaign. And then it's still, I believe it's still a little bit hard to measure that success with YouTube because it's great for brand awareness, but as you know, it doesn't necessarily translate into sales, or at least not immediately. So it's hard to put an ROI against something like YouTube ads. We have done TV advertising as well. Again, great for brand awareness. You definitely see the effect, once your ad has aired. But again, these are, I believe that YouTube and TV are kind of very expensive. Definitely worthwhile trying, but an expensive ways to kind of put your brand out there.
You're such a data marketeer, aren't you?
I am such a data marketeer. Yes. I like to put an ROI against everything.
You like a big spreadsheet with all of the numbers, and if it's not giving you the right number, then that's
Absolutely.
it.
I do.
I can understand that, and having worked in the businesses you have, all of those were data-driven businesses, so you've had it bred into you. Is there a piece of Martech or technology that you use every single day and you think, I couldn't live without this?
So there are a couple that I use on a daily basis. So one piece of technology that we only started using quite recently, and I mean like very recently, a couple of weeks, so I haven't had a chance to kind of properly get into it, but I already know that we are going to be like this. So it's this reporting platform called Glue, spelled GLEW. It does everything that any other reporting platform would do, except that it gives you a lot of information on your actual customers that bought from you. So you can segment your customers by lifetime value. You can segment them by, whether they bought from you with a discount code or without. You can then export those segments and you can retarget to them or build lookalike audience off the back of them. So I find it just really, really useful piece of technology, and I can't wait to get stuck into it properly. Another piece of technology that I use regularly, so having done a lot of research and digging into numbers, as I mentioned, our paid social is one of our biggest channels, and we have seen that most of our conversions are happening between a certain time of the day and a certain time in the evening. So showing your ads 24 hours, 7 days a week isn't the best use of your budget. And so I've been looking for software that would allow me to kind of manage this outside of Facebook platform itself, because there are lots of, you can essentially do that within Facebook ads, but it's very limited. You have to basically have, instead of having a daily budget, you have to have a campaign budget, and it just doesn't work for us. So this piece of software called RevealBot allows you to do just that. So it kind of stops the ads at the hour that you set it to, and then it re-enables the ads. And by doing that, also your ads don't go back into learning phase, which is, as we all know, we don't want any ads to be in learning phase. We want them to be active. So yeah, a very, very handy piece of software actually that I use all the time.
I've never heard of either of them. So thank you very much for sharing them.
No worries.
So the question we the question we leave every interview with is, firstly, what's your favorite e-commerce brand right now?
What's my favorite e-commerce brand right now? I would like to say, although I'm not very big into gym myself, but I really admire Gymshark.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they have just grown exponentially in such a short time. And I think they're one of the fastest growing actually companies in the UK at the moment, and very, very digitally savvy. So yeah, I would just, if you ask me what question I would like to ask Gymshark, I would say that I would really like to hear more about, which channel contributed most to their amazing growth, from both kind of brand awareness perspective and also sales. Yeah, that would be my...
It's got to be social, hasn't it? Their social is just so strong. And actually their founders and their operators are now influencers in themselves. So
yeah, I think influencers is another kind of channel that they really, really harnessed and made to work, in their favor. We have tried working with influencers and we haven't seen kind of the same level of success. So it would be interesting to hear.
When you say influencers, what type of influencers? Were they dog Instagram channels or were they people Instagram channels?
So dog influencers mostly, yes. And a couple of...
They're brilliant.
I know that they are brilliant. I just, we just didn't get the desired results, I guess. So we really pulled back now. But yeah, maybe, if there's any kind of gold nuggets that anybody else could share on this, and how to select the right type of influencer, and, how actually involved our brands in terms of what content is being shared by influencers and all these other things. Yeah. Be great to hear.
I had a great interview by Ben Francis actually on influencers, and he just talked about the impact of micro influencers. He didn't go after they didn't go after anyone big. They went very hard on their niche that they were targeting, and I just got them involved in the process so that they were on board, which I think is very interesting. And I'm going on holiday in a couple of weeks, and I emailed the hotel to ask about a couple of things, and when they sent me the reply and they sent me the influencer videos that the influencer had done, because I was asking about where we could eat on the beach, and they sent me the influencer videos of exactly what the beach looked like and what it looked like set up and that. So they didn't do any of that marketing themselves. They used someone else, and actually, unsurprisingly, the influencer made it look amazing. So of course I've purchased because I'm a sucker. But I just thought that was a very interesting. I've never seen a hotel or another brand use that as their description. So they're not just using the influencer on the influencer's channel. They've incorporated that into their website, into their Q&As, and into their customer responses, so that it's a better use for money, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very interesting. I think that's definitely very good channel for any brand to kind of harness if done right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me, Hannah. I am really happy to be part of the e-commerce experts Slack channel, and I really like it because ever since leaving the agency, I feel like I'm a little bit sheltered. I'm in my happy place. I'm an in-house marketer. It's what I wanted to be and to do. But I definitely feel more sheltered. I feel like I am not exposed to quite as much information, and I don't have all these brilliant minds that I can bounce the ideas off. We are a team of 4 marketers at PitPat, but I still feel like, we are all specializing in our own areas. So sometimes I miss that bit. I miss being able to, ask my expert colleagues a question and get a straight answer. Now I'm just having to figure out a lot of things by myself, which is also not a bad thing. But yeah, that's why I think something like, the channel that you've created is really extremely helpful, and yeah, great.
Well, I look forward to seeing your questions in it, but I also feel like I need to caveat that I didn't pay you to say that, and I didn't to say it because it almost sounds too much of a good testimonial. Thank you ever so much for joining us today. I know you were nervous, but you had absolutely no reason to be. I think it's very, very interesting because you're working on such a specific niche brand that a lot of other businesses will identify with it. You're also a seasoned digital marketer, even though you tell me you're not, and you don't want me to mention how many years you've been doing it because you don't want to highlight your age, but you've been in the industry a while.
I have. And thank you so much for having me, Hannah. I really enjoyed this interview. You really made me more relaxed. No, cut this bit.